So this is what happens when you leave your recording software running and you forget about it. I was playing Homeworld Deserts of Kharak online, and this was my third game, and I had no idea that I had actually left my demo software running, so it was definitely a surprise victory. So we're going to dive straight in a couple of minutes into the game. Phase 1, Harass. It's worth noting at this point the game was actually a 2-on-2 and a player from each side dropped before the game actually started, so it became a 1-on-1. My opponent decided he was going to try and take full advantage of having access to all the resource on his side of the map, which allowed me in turn to take full advantage of using LAVs to harass those units he then produced to really shut down and limit his resource capabilities.
So let's get the fuck out of here. This is doing my nut in.
And again, this moves me neatly on to Phase 2, Air Superiority. I was originally going to target his resource ops with my air units, but I found a small incoming counterattack in the process and decided to take out as many of those as possible. I made a mistake here, and I should have been producing LAVs straight away. However, I wasn't, and this was a bit of an error. I, as a result, lost some of my resource production in this counterattack, which I could have prevented by simply hitting F1 and spam building the LAV straight away. So that was my own mistake. I could have rectified this, but I chose to do it a lot later on. But the air superiority in this game played out very differently to other games, and I'll explain more on that later on.
Strike copies.
Light attack vehicle online.
Interceptor taking fire. We've got hostile on sensors. Confirm visual. Go ahead.
Here you can see I have been successful with my defense of the counterattack, and I am really hammering home my air advantage, taking out as many of his resource productions as I can, and really pushing back many of his LAVs across the map to try and sort of stop him from getting close to my production again. I've also got a gunship produced, which I use to absolutely smash some of the ground units later on, which leads me neatly to Phase 3. For this game, I decided I was going to force production. So, if you're not familiar with RTS tactics, a forced production is where you secretly you're researching the tech tree and you're using cheaper units with an advantage. Here I'm using my cheap airstrike units to really pose a massive threat. Now, he's got two options. He can either ignore the threat and I can carry on harassing him, or he can deal with it. Now, if he decides to deal with it, I'm forcing him to produce anti-air, which is going to shut down his productions for other things. But this is what I want him to do. I want him to really invest in that anti-air. I don't want him to be investing in anti-ground at all, because my actual main goal is to get a assault cruiser out and strike with a heavy ground assault. The air units are solely expendable for this tactic. They're in no way, shape or form going to be used as the main weapon. Obviously, that would change if he completely ignored all of the anti-air capabilities he has, but he didn't. He went full anti-air, and I was able to push forwards with my Phase 3 operation.
Alert, LAV down. Tracking target. Strike craft destroyed.
So here you can see a second counterattack, and it looks pretty nasty. He's using a lot of LAVs to strike at my ground units, but because I'm using my air strategy to effectively wound his production capability and forcefully make him produce anti-air batteries rather than anti-tank guns, I'm not too worried that his counter-strike with LAVs are going to really do any significant damage. I mean, I still have a gunship which is now coming off cooldown. I've got some LAVs of my own, which I suspect are higher in the tech tree than his at this stage, and I am going to use that to my advantage, and I'm going to destroy his counter-attack. Like I said, he was very successful at reducing my income here, but I wasn't overly bothered because I knew ultimately, while he's doing that, I can use my air units to strike at his production as well. So no one really got the better of each other, and we move on to the final phase, Phase 4, the final ruse. Now, all of my air units become 100% expendable at this phase. I really want to push home the fact that I'm using my air units as my primary attack, when in reality I'm not. So he's going to invest more of his immediate resource in anti-air, when really I'm sneaking up right through the middle with some cruisers. Now, I didn't realise he actually surrendered shortly after this battle, and he gave up. I didn't even know I had the recording software running. I thought I had cancelled it, and it was kind of a nice feeling. You know, this was my third game online, and it was my second victory. Although my stats actually show I've played 4 games and I've won 3 of them, that's actually incorrect, because one of the games I was against someone, the other team quit out before the game actually started. So although I have technically another victory there, I didn't actually win. But I wasn't very familiar with the assault cruiser actually as a unit, so I've been trying to experiment with it here, and I've been using some of its other abilities, and I probably used the wrong abilities at the wrong times, but it was all in the process of learning. And yeah, this managed to secure my victory. However, as I said, I didn't realise this was coming, so I was still investing heavily in getting more assault cruisers out. I don't see the point in using the battle cruiser. It is slower to move, it does have more firepower, but it's got a shorter range and it has less abilities. I do think the Coalition assault cruiser is actually the superior of the 2 units. It also has an anti-aircraft upgrade now, so you can shoot down hostile airstrikes with it, so you can use it as a mobile AA battery as well. Plus it has the ability, which I've now used, to regenerate its own hit points. I didn't know that you couldn't fire during this process, so that was quite interesting for me. But enjoy the rest of the video, what's left of it.
Engage. Make ready.
We lack sufficient RUs.
Ready for orders. Fire on the move.
Assault cruiser ready for assignment.
Alert. Assault cruiser destroyed.
Strike fighter ready for service. Strike fighter online. Assault cruiser ready for assignment. Strike fighter ready for service.
Moving out. Carrier here. Hostile forces are
Oh,
retreating.
I won.
Hold position and await further orders.
Was I even recording any of that? Oh, apparently I was. So sorry if there's any crossed audio during this game, because I didn't realise my recording software was actually running. I actually was in a call with Sergeant Bilko UK, who you might know from my Rust videos if you follow both my Rust and Homeworld videos, and, well, I didn't realise my microphone was switched on and it was recording. But anyway, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video, and I'll see you in the next one.